Welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and right here on WrestleRant, I break down all the pay-per-views that I watch on the WWE Network. And today we're talking Capital Punishment 2011. Anyone who's known me for any length of time knows I just do not like this show. Probably one of my least favorite events of all time, and arguably one of the worst pay-per-views in the last 5 years. The gimmick and the idea of this show was so deplorable, and it resulted in a number of bad segments and backstage confrontations and an in-ring thing that was just garbage that I'll talk about if I don't forget about it. I just might, but it was bad. I know the show emanated from Washington, D.C., so I thought WWE thought it was fitting. Thankfully, they have not since brought it back. I know the Battleground show, I think, will be held in Washington, D.C. this year in July, and thank God it won't be a Capital Punishment pay-per-view. But this just continued the very poor streak of awful June pay-per-views. And the Bash wasn't really that good, as I talked about before, and the last couple of editions. Fatal 4-Way was an awful concept too. That show was all right, but the concept just sucked. This was no different. They brought back No Way Out, was a flop of a show the following year, which I talked about a couple months ago here on WrestleRant. Cheap plug if you want to check it out. But anyway, getting down to Capital Punishment 2011, the show kicked off for the United States Championship. Kofi Kingston defending against Dolph Ziggler. The match was good. I mean, Ziggler and Kofi had such great chemistry with one another that it was pretty much impossible for them to have a bad match. So this match was pretty good, probably not as good as their past encounters from, I would say, 2010 or... Yeah, 2010 is when they feuded. I thought they feuded back in 2009. So it was a match that we had already seen a number of times before. A lot of the matches on the show were, pretty much SmackDown rematches. CM Punk and Rey Mysterio rekindling their rivalry on the show as well. Del Rio and Big Show. A lot of the same feuds from SmackDown, and they just did them on Raw instead, which was stupid. But anyway, this was back when the brand split was still somewhat in effect before the whole Super Show things kind of kicked off that summer. But anyway, Ziggler and Kofi, good match. Again, not as good as their past encounters, but all right for what it was. The finish was confusing. Ziggler locked in the sleeper hold, and he forced Kofi to pass out, which won him the United States Championship. So I'm glad he won the belt. He went on to embark on a 6-month reign as champion, had the whole great run or great feud with Zack Ryder. So he did have a pretty good run as champion. The match wasn't really all that notable. The finish was confusing. The bell, the referee rang for the bell. It looked like he might have gotten DQ'd, or we weren't really sure what to think until after Ziggler's music started playing. So the finish aside, the match was good and a nice way of kicking off the show with a new champion crowned. After that, Alex Riley. Yes, Alex Riley on the WWE pay-per-view taking on The Miz. Really the only point in his WWE career that is relevant. Which I hate to say, I'm a huge Riley fan. I really thought he could have been more than what he was, more of a breakout star. And, I mean, he won. He won here, and he's from Washington, D.C., or at least that's where he was billed from. So he got a nice little pop when he came out. Had a good showing here. I thought the match was good. The video package was great. I know RJ has brought it up before. I know of other people that I've talked to have brought it up before, too. I love the video package for this match. And I love any match that has history behind it, and this match had history behind it. It was the year prior they teamed up for NXT. Miz served as Alex Riley's pro in the season 2 of the show. And they kind of played back all the moments that Miz used Riley, and Riley kind of did the bidding, did the dirty work for the Miz. It was pretty cool, and it got to a great, I had a great song behind it, and it had a great story to it too. And then in the end, Alex Riley beating the crap out of the Miz the night after, over the limit, after he turned on him, and he took enough of his bullshit, and he finally, parted ways. He emancipated himself, so to speak, from the Miz. So it led to this match at Capital Punishment. Like I said, a good match. Nothing too great. I thought the finishing sequence was all right, but it felt a bit rushed. It never really felt like they got to that next gear before the match abruptly ended. Miz tried to use the briefcase, which he still brought up to ringside anyway, I guess out of symbolism. I'm not really sure, but he tried to use it. The referee took it away. And then Alex Riley capitalized on a distracted Miz, hit the Impaler DDT for the 1-2-3, a clean victory on pay-per-view for Alex Riley. The crowd responded very favorably to that. So a good match. This really should have been more of a career-defining victory for Alex Riley, considering he just beat the guy who won the main event of WrestleMania 2 months before this. But sadly, the feud was dropped that summer pretty abruptly, too. I mean, he beat him on the 4th of July edition of Raw. A couple weeks later, they had another rematch in the WWE title tournament right after Money in the Bank, which Miz won clean. And that was it. Riley was pretty much gone from Raw from that point forward. He kind of chased the U.S. title for a couple months, but that was about it, and he lost, never won it. And it sucks, because I really thought he could have been more than what he was, and now he has been recently released from the company, so, 5 years after the fact, but I really thought 2011 could have been his year, and this was really his breakout performance that they never really capitalized off of. After that, we had Alberto Del Rio taking on the Big Show, and this whole feud stems from Del Rio hitting Big Show with a car backstage at Raw, injuring his knee. Yeah, very creative. But Del Rio kind of felt like, ultimately he would get back on the right track, but it really felt like they did not kind of capitalize off his momentum upon coming to Raw, because he lost at WrestleMania. He won the Royal Rumble, lost at WrestleMania, lost at Extreme Rules, got drafted at Raw, or technically got drafted at Raw before losing at Extreme Rules, but he was a part of the Raw brand at that point, and then was not even at Over the Limit. Or he was at Over the Limit, but he got interrupted by like Big Show and Kane or something, which kind of kicked off this feud. But he didn't even wrestle at the show, which goes to show that WWE didn't really have many plans in place for him, other than feuding for the WWE Championship that summer, but that wouldn't be for a couple more months. They put him in a filler feud with the Big Show. The match was really boring. Before the match, Mark Henry attacked the Big Show, giving him an out to lose. And Del Rio had like a leg breaker or a leg bar or something on, I don't know, some submission move. I do MMA too, so I don't know why I don't know what the name of that move is. I just don't remember. But he had Big Show in a submission move. Big Show didn't tap out, and the referee just called for the bell. Why not just have him tap out? That made no sense to me. Why not just have Big Show tap out? It's not like you need to protect the Big Show. He lost to Mark Henry clean the following month anyway, Money in the Bank. So there really was no need for him to lose via referee stoppage. I'm glad Del Rio won, but why not just have him get pinned or submitted? Do Del Rio a favor here en route to winning Money in the Bank the following month. That to me made no sense. But otherwise, the match was pretty boring. These guys have never really had good chemistry at all. Their matches in 2013 were a bit better. With the turn of the tables, the dynamic was switched with Del Rio as the babyface, Big Show as the heel. They had better matches 2 years later, but at this point in time, their matches sucked, in my opinion. So at least Del Rio won, so there was that. Wade Barrett comes out next as the Intercontinental Champion, trashes Washington, D.C. to try to get some last-minute heat, because no one gave a fuck about him at this point. He was losing every single week. The core was pretty much disbanded by this point, and all of his heat was all but gone, after being not buried, but so poorly booked, following the dissolution of the Nexus, the Core, the awful booking on SmackDown that he had to suffer through. It was bad. So Ezekiel Jackson, the challenger, the match was decent at best. Barrett tried his best to carry him to a decent match, but no one gave a fuck about the feud, the title, Jackson winning. They popped a little when Jackson won the belt, but that was about it. He won with the rack attack, or the fucking torture rack. Sorry, the rack attack is Nikki Bella's finisher. So Jackson picks up the Intercontinental Championship. Match was, like I said, passable. He cuts a promo afterwards that felt scripted as all hell. Said it couldn't have been happier to have won it here in the nation's capital of Washington, D.C. Yay. Whatever. New IC champion crowned after that. So we go from all that garbage to one of my favorite matches of all time. So, like I said earlier, I do not like this show. I didn't really enjoy watching it back just recently. I watch everything back regardless of whether it's bad, good, awful, awesome, whatever, just to review it for you guys. I don't really care either way. I enjoy watching these pay-per-views, but even if they're terrible, there's always at least one thing to like about every bad show. This match was what it was for me. I fucking love Rey Mysterio versus CM Punk from Capital Punishment 2011. Yes, they had a lot of good matches in 2010 over on SmackDown. The Over the Limit match was great. WrestleMania, Extreme Rules, a lot of good matches between the two. But this match, for whatever reason, really resonated with me when I watched it the first time. I just remember watching, and this was before the network, obviously, going back 5 years now, watching like the highlight clips and stuff on YouTube the next day that fans would put together, set to Satellite by whatever band it was. The same band that did the song for this pay-per-view. Let me double check real quick. It's going to drive me crazy. Not this show. It was Over the Limit. Let me say real quick. Over the Limit, the pay-per-view theme was done by Rise Against. Help is on the way, but they also set it to Satellite. But anyway, that's besides the point. The match was just that great. I enjoyed watching the highlight video back all the time on YouTube before finally being able to watch it back in full on the network 2 years ago, again last year, and then just recently. Again, a really, really good match, and I couldn't even tell you why. These guys always have great matches. It's not like the feud was any better this time than it was the first time around. If anything, it was worse. There really wasn't a feud between the two. It was just kind of there. Punk beat Mysterio on Raw. He beat him on Raw. Mysterio beat Punk on Raw. So they were 1-for-1, had the rubber match in the show. Punk won one. Mysterio won one. Punk won here, won the rubber match. just great chemistry. Like I said, just a really entertaining match. There really wasn't a story here. We did hear from Punk beforehand saying that he was about to do the most honest thing that the WWE Universe has ever seen. He wouldn't do it here. He wouldn't do it afterwards. The most honest thing that the WWE Universe has ever seen would ultimately be him announcing his departure from WWE the night after on Raw after becoming the number one contender to the WWE Championship, saying that he was leaving Money in the Bank as WWE Champion 1 week before cutting the famous pipe bomb promo, of course, on Raw. But still, going back to this matchup, a lot of tendencies here that I notice that kind of kicked off a lot of planting of the seeds for the summer of Punk. With him saying, "I'm the best in the world," screaming it, I think after the match or before the match. I'm pretty sure afterwards. And I don't think I'd ever heard him say that before on WWE TV. Of course, that became the crux of his character for the remainder of his run in WWE, calling himself the best in the world. But this marked the first time I believe he ever called himself the best in the world. But anyway, great match. Love the finish. So Punk is going for the GTS. And when he throws Mysterio up to, hit him with the knee, Mysterio reverses in a Hurricane Rana, tosses Punk on the ropes, goes for the 619. Punk catches him into a go-to-sleep position. So Mysterio wraps his legs around the ropes, going for the 619. Punk catches him, just throttles him on his shoulders, throws him up for one of the best GTSs I've ever seen. That's saying something, because the move is pretty sick, but it's also Punk delivering it, and he never delivered the best GTSs. I mean, Kenta or fucking Hideo Itami delivered the best GTSs over in Japan. But anyway, again, besides the point, great looking GTS to score the clean victory, kind of kicking off the summer of Punk with a bang, with a clean victory on the show. So really good shit. Really, really love this match. Again, it might be any ordinary match for you, but for me, it was really one of my favorite matches. Again, of all time, probably would be in my top 10, if not my top 5, but again, really good match. I couldn't even pinpoint why. Probably just because it kicked off, to me, the summer of Punk. These two have really good chemistry. Punk was just hilarious. It was very evident at this point he did not give two shits at all. He just did not care. He's like, I'll get a replay of that when he threw Mysterio into the barricade at ringside. It's just, he did not give a fuck at all because he knew he was on his way out, or at least at that time he thought he was before he ultimately resigned. But you know what I mean. So great match there, and really the saving grace of this show. After that, for the World Heavyweight Championship, Randy Orton taking on Christian. I never liked this match. I mean, not that I never liked this match. I'm sorry. I just never liked this encounter just because it was a good match. Down the stretch, they picked up the pace. It was a pretty good match. But all their other matches I thought were way better. The Over the Limit match remains one of my favorite matches, again, of all time. Probably my favorite match of Orton and Christian's. Their matches on SmackDown were great. The Money in the Bank match marked Christian winning his second world title. The SummerSlam match was just as good, if not better, the No Holds Barred match. So this match kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Christian had just gone heel. They really should have put the belt on him here instead of at Money in the Bank, but whatever. So Christian gets hit with the RKO, seemingly out of nowhere, has his foot under the rope. The referee doesn't see it. Christian bitches and whines and moans to the referee. He doesn't reverse the decision. Orton lays him out with the RKO afterwards. So typical babyface laying out Christian with the RKO for no apparent reason, just because he was bitching and whining, even though Christian did nothing to deserve it. But the match was good, like I said, and any other show, compared to most things on the show, it was a pretty good match, but not their best encounter. I thought it was probably the worst of all the matches they had, just because of the lackluster finish and not capitalizing on Christian's momentum and blah, 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 but still all right for what it was. After that, a special bonus attraction match, as the ring announcer called it, Justin Roberts, as it was billed as Evan Bourne versus Jack Swagger. A decent match. These guys, again, always had good chemistry, but the match came out of freaking nowhere. Bourne wasn't doing anything. Swagger was beyond irrelevant at this point, so no one gave a fuck. Again, a well-wrestled match, but the crowd sat on their hands because they didn't care about either guy. Evan Bourne won. Whoop-de-doo. Main event, believe it or not, for the WWE Championship. Actually, I'll get to the main event in a second. I'll mention this real quick. That segment, that aforementioned segment, I did not mention before, but I did mention at the start of the video. I said I was going to talk about if I remember. I just remember now. So we had a Barack Obama impersonator on this show. Awful. Just awful. It led to a lot of bad, stupid, unfunny backstage segments throughout the show. And then he came out with a podium wishing John Cena good luck for the main event. Crowd booed him out of the building, of course. Then Booker T gets off commentary and says, "Yo, homie," calling the president, in quotes, a homie. So he invites Booker T in the ring, and they do a spin-a-rooney. Yes, he did a Obama Rooney or Barack Rooney or whatever the hell they called it on commentary. I don't know. It was something stupid, though. Awful. Again, awful. The impersonator, this show sucked overall, but the impersonator was just the worst thing about this show. He kept on saying, thank you, like Obama. It was like the most obnoxious thing ever. And I don't even not like Obama. I like Obama, and that's besides the point, you know what I mean? Not getting into politics here, but it's not that I don't like Obama. It's just I do not like awful impersonators, and this was just not funny at all, which the only person in the back that was laughing at this was Vince McMahon. Of course, if he laughs, then I guess it counts, or then it makes it worth it, whatever. But that was fucking terrible. So we get to the main event for the WWE Championship. John Cena defending against, wait for it, R-Truth. Yeah, R-Truth in a WWE main event. The main event of a WWE pay-per-view. Believe it. Believe that, as Roman Reigns would say. At the time, it wasn't really all that out of place, because Truth was doing the best work of his career as a heel. The whole little Jimmy thing, they put together a great video package with him saying conspiracy. How can you, we're in the nation's capital. How can tonight not be a conspiracy with me going for the WWE Championship, blah, blah, blah. So I thought it was cool. A lot of cool stuff here in the video package. The match itself was not good. A very, very bland match. Basically what you would expect out of a Raw main event. Really nothing that kind of stood out of the ordinary. No big angle, no big swerve. R-Truth did go to ringside and, started bullying a little Jimmy by taking his drink. The little Jimmy, the fan, the fucking, plant, whatever. So he takes the drink, he throws it in R-Truth's face. The cup of water. So R-Truth is apparently blinded by this. And then John Cena takes him to the ring, gives him an AA, and it's over. So John Cena wins clean after a cup of water to the face of R-Truth. Brilliant. What a way to protect R-Truth. The match was not good. Not a good way to go off the show. The show sucked. Let's face it. All these years later, it's just comical to me that R-Truth was in the main event of a pay-per-view. The Miz, I can at least see, people go back and think, The Miz main event at WrestleMania, ha ha ha, that's funny, but at least he's good, and he's been relevant, and he's a mid-card guy. He's a 5-time Intercontinental Champion. R-Truth, after this point, after he went back to being a babyface the following year, went on to do absolutely fucking nothing. Nothing. The guy is a loser. He's an enhancement talent. He's a jobber. No one cares. At least Miz is doing something right now, and he has done something. He's kept himself pretty relevant for the past 5 years. The same cannot be said for R-Truth. So to think back and to remember that he main evented a WWE pay-per-view is comical to me. Considering the fact, too, the match wasn't all that good. So again, like I said earlier, my view on this show has not changed from 5 years ago. Not a good show. The idea, the gimmick of the show sucked. Thank God it was scrapped the following year. Again, I have no idea whether it was ever intended to be more than a one-night show. I know it emanated from Washington, D.C., so, of course, unless they brought the show back to Washington, D.C. every year, like they tend to do with Payback in Chicago, there was really no reason to hold this pay-per-view again. Thank God it has been brought back and hopefully never will be. But, again, quick recap here. Decent opener with a new U.S. champion being crowned. Good match from Riley and Miz. In the long term, that meant nothing. Del Rio and Big Show, boring as hell. Jackson and Barrett, barely passable, but new champion crowned regardless. Punk and Mysterio, great match. Orton and Christian, good match, but a lackluster anticlimactic finish and not their best encounter on pay-per-view. Born and Swagger, forgettable as all hell. Main event, bland as fuck. Did not give a shit. So overall, not a good show. I'll get you 2 raspberries for that one. Not a good show. Or was that more of a fart noise? I don't know. I don't know. I can't determine. I can't, differentiate my fart noises from my raspberries. But I think the point still stands. The show was not good. 2 thumbs down. If you enjoyed it, good for you. That's great. I didn't like it. I would not recommend the show to anyone unless I want to, wish harm on them. So I will have them tied up in front of a TV watching this pay-per-view, and that should do them in, honestly, because this show isn't good. In my opinion, anyway. Again, my opinion, if you like the show, whatever, but if there's any one match from the show worth checking out, needless to say, CM Punk versus Rey Mysterio, great match. So that is Capital Punishment 2011. Not so fun, watching it, but some fun reviewing it, as always for you guys. It's always fun doing these videos, so I appreciate your support by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Your support means a lot, so thank you very much. We'll be back in my next video to cover Bad Blood 2003. From there, Bad Blood 04. And I think after that, I'll be covering freaking the Battleground shows, going into the next Battleground pay-per-view in a couple more weeks. So looking forward to talking about those shows at the end of June, beginning of July, whatever it might be. I have no idea. I got to look at the schedule again. But in the meantime, and in between time, you guys can follow me on the Twitter at WrestleRant, on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews, and also right here on YouTube, like I said, by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And also the website too at nextairwrestling.net. Fun fact for you, you can check out my full thoughts on this show, Capital Punishment 2011, and all the other pay-per-views and Raws and SmackDowns from the past 5 years on my website, nextairwrestling.net, for my thoughts on the shows as they happened. Just type in Capital Punishment 2011 in the search bar at the top of the page, and you'll get my full review of the show from when the show happened 5 years ago. So fun fact for you in regards to that. So like I said, folks, my next video will be covering Bad Blood 03. Until then, have a great week or weekend, whatever it might be. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.